Are you ready to become a real estate investor? And you know there are creative financing options out there, but you just can't seem to put your finger on where to get started. Well, this video is for the homeowner looking to do just that, but it's also for anyone hungry and ambitious looking for a long-term roadmap to investing in real estate. Let's dig into how to turn existing home equity into investments and property income. What's up? My name is Joshua Smith. I'm with the Home Agent Group. I want to talk to you about what you're up to and how we can expand together.
To be honest with you, and you can cut this if you need to.
That's the highlight of our entire trip.
Cheers. It seems like most of the internet will tell you that it's too hard to buy a home right now. And while interest rates are high, just like home prices, with no sign of coming down, it is totally possible and not as far-fetched as the internet would have you believe to get into a starter home or use your starter home to get into your next home. The idea of a starter home is one that spans generations, and I think it's important to define before we get too far into the idea of monetizing property or getting from one home purchase to the next. Because this is a concern that I hear from first-time home buyers and existing homeowners alike. A starter home should be considered just that, the start of your home ownership journey. Typically something small, but specifically something economical. Whether it's a single family house or a condo, the idea behind getting a starter home is one about learning how to be a homeowner and learning how to be a home buyer. It can be a stepping stone to the next phase of investing or to the home of your dreams. Essentially, the idea is to buy something that you can afford, to experience what risk is involved, but also the reward that comes with taking this major step. Don't be overzealous. We all had to crawl before we could walk. A starter home doesn't have to be a fixer-upper. You don't have to know how to patch drywall or do flooring or move walls in a house to get something affordable. You just look for something within your means and ability. And this narrows down the search quite a bit and will help you get into something appropriate. The next question though, and what you're all here for, is how to get from this starter home to the next property, or any other type of investment for that matter. Now, full disclosure, I have to state that I'm a realtor, not a loan officer, and I'm not a licensed contractor. That said, there is one simple rule that you can follow to make this whole process easier, and it's helpful no matter how many properties that you buy. The rule is, you make your money on the purchase. If you follow this rule, it'll help you answer many of the unanswered questions that you may have, or should be asking yourself anyway. A savvy investor always knows their exit options to their investment before they invest. In the instance of a starter home, if it is a fixer-upper, cosmetic updates and light structural updates over time that can improve value in some instances dramatically, to then sell for a profit. But maybe it's a place that you don't need to improve upon to sell easily or rent. If it's a high demand area and the property doesn't need a lot of work, that's a good investment also, for obvious reasons, but because you have options when it's time to move on, because it's likely that it'll be easier to market and in higher demand when you're ready to exit. So when you buy a property, look at these factors. Are you looking to live there long term or only be there for a short term? And when you're ready to move, can you rent the property as opposed to selling it? And if you sell it, or plan to, are there ways that you can improve the value by doing some work on it as opposed to simply allowing time to inflate the value of the home? When buying your first home, or if you're ready to go on to your second, it really helps to have someone with some experience help out. So finding an agent or contractor with some real investing experience is helpful. But make sure it's someone that has real life experience in buying and selling property in this manner. Not every contractor knows what types of improvements are actually going to gain you value. I have other videos that dig a little bit deeper into this topic if you'd like to go check those out. Home improvements that'll make you the most return. But let me inject another suggestion here for those whose goal it is to get into rentals. Find something that might even be suitable the day you move in, like a duplex. Yeah, you can do that. Live on one side, rent the other. You might be able to completely offset the mortgage this way, and if you're single, you can rent bedrooms in your home while you live there. I might suggest looking for a split-level home if that's the case, so you could possibly have one whole floor to yourself sharing the common entry. An easy improvement on that type of property would be to convert the split open foyer into a closed foyer so that upstairs and downstairs become two separate units, as long as the zoning will allow for this. Now let's focus on turning this investment into your next investment. After you've been in the home for a while, you probably have some additional equity. Equity is just the difference between the market value of a home and any amount that you owe. This is the real value your home has as an asset. And one easy way to tap into the equity that you've built is to get a home equity product like a home equity line of credit or a home equity loan. Specifically, a line of credit is money that can be used to make updates to the home or invest in other assets like a car, shares of a business, stocks, whatever you need it for. And typically, it's the cheapest debt that you can get for any of the purposes that you may have in mind. And yes, you can use a home equity line of credit for your down payment on a new home. You have to qualify for the expense that comes with spending that credit. As with all types of credit, you'll have monthly payments that are triggered by how much of that credit is used with an associated interest rate, right? But this opens up a world of possibility. Here's the thing. You can leverage debt to expand both equity and savings by investing into an asset that has immediate growth potential. One way to do this with a home that you already own is to add square footage. This is one reason why you see people convert garages into bedrooms or other usable square footage in the house. Typically, this is above grade square footage that can add value directly to the home, dollar for dollar, foot for foot. And if that value is more than the cost to add it, you immediately gain that value back, even if you're already using a home equity loan or line of credit to pay for it. You just added both value to offset the cost and grow your equity that is usable for a new home purchase. There are caveats to every statement I'm making here. Not all square footage is valued the same. Basements are typically considered below grade, and so they're not valued as high as the rest of the house. So be diligent about making updates, making sure they will return the value that you're putting into it. This is where the help of a professional in this process is key. If you buy a house for $250,000, say, and a few years later, and with updates and time, the value is now $450,000. Well, you should have some good equity that can help offset your next purchase. So let's run a scenario. 1, a rental scenario. Say you want to keep your first home and turn it into a rental when you buy your next home. This is a common way that I see folks get into their first rental property. It's how I got into my first rental property. Using the same math as before, let's say when you're ready to sell, you have $200,000 left on your mortgage from your original purchase. The home has a market value of $450,000, so you have $250,000 in projected equity. Now, for the sake of making this easy, this is just the growth in value over the time you've lived in the home. You don't have any other debts on the property, haven't taken out a home equity line of credit, but you have no savings that can help you go buy a new home. Step 1. Get a line of credit on the home, pay down the debts that you owe, keep your overhead low, and make sure that you keep enough reserves between your line of credit and additional savings that you'll generate by leveraging that credit. It's a good idea to always make sure you have 3 to 6 months of cash available to cover your bills in case of an emergency. People call this emergency cash, emergency savings. But because you're keeping that house as a rental, next, you need to get a lease on the property most likely before a lender will allow you to buy a new home. And don't overcomplicate this. You can sign a lease with someone months in advance to them moving in, as long as the term of the lease covers as much as 75% of the mortgage payments on the property, and it just needs to start at the time that you would need to make your first mortgage payment on the new property. Those dates do need to line up. But once you buy the new home, once you own it, then you can reimburse yourself for the down payment that you made with that line of credit. It just has to be after you close on the property. And you can use it for other things like moving costs, cleaning costs, whatever you happen to need it for. Now here's another scenario, buying before you sell. If you're just wanting to upgrade from where you are, you have no intention of being a landlord or just don't want to keep your starter home, but you need to be able to buy a new home before you can sell your old home. Well, you can take the same approach to get into a new home. However, you likely will have to be approved by the lender for both mortgages, even if you plan to sell the home after your new purchase. And that line of credit can be used to help make those payments to help bridge the gap. An alternative product to a line of credit, if your lender does them as a bridge loan. It's effectively the same concept, but it specifically is used when a homeowner needs help getting from one home to the next and has equity to spare. And now is a good time to talk about a recast. No, it's not the same as when your favorite show fires an actor and brings in a new face for the Joey character. With a home loan, if you contribute a nominal amount to the principal balance, typically 20% of the value, you can do what's called a recast. This will take into consideration the new balance owed, recast the loan across a full term like 30 or 15 years, whatever you qualify for, and reduce your mortgage by hundreds of dollars per month. If that sounds like something you want to do, again, work with a professional to dictate those terms up front even before you buy the home so you know exactly how this can impact your finances overall. So what's next for you? Are you a first-time home buyer, a next home buyer? There are a lot of ways to leverage the equity of a property you own to help you get from one step to the next. You just have to take it a step at a time. And yes, you can turn your first home into a rental and buy your second with a very little down payment. And with the added benefit of having equity to recast a mortgage, you can reduce your overall bill. You can continue to do this again and again. Thanks for watching. If you're considering buying a home, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this video in comments below. And if you want more real estate tips and advice, be sure to check out my other videos. I'll see you in the next one.